a couple of things, you guys. I'm going to talk to you about designs and how to put them on. And I'm going to go off of my PowerPoint and take you into the design store to talk about them as well. So let's get started. It's Quilter's Playground today, and it's QMX, all things QMX. And I'm liking QMX more and more and more. So what we're using today for our quilt project is the design that I chose is Starry Night, and it's the border. Now, I will talk about why I chose this one, but I would probably change it up for as I'm quilting. So I learned a few things. So, and then we're using our QMX foundations for domestic machine. We are also using the Little Rebel, our Cutie Breeze. And the lining will be our new Finesse Supreme Quilt Cotton Solid. And I used Water Lily. And I used the same color thread. That's what's so cool about the Finesse fabrics and threads, that they match. And then I did use the cloth leaders to help me, size 18 needles. And last but not least, you can get this fun little bag, and it's just a tote with everything that you need from our fabric shop online. And you can just, so here's all the little links. Now, they're not live links, but you can copy and paste them in to get where you're going, okay? So let's move on past this. Now, for my quilting layers, I need a backing, a batting, and my top. Always cut your backing and batting wider and longer than your top. And I'm not going to give you specific measurements, and I'll tell you why. Because if it's closer to the edge, you will want to use the cloth leaders for that extra extension. And I do talk about a little bit more about that in the video and why I use that and the bungees, okay? So I'm going to move forward and let's talk about designs. So we're going to go to graceframe.com, and then we're going to go to the shop and the design store. So I'm going to head out. I'm already there. This is graceframe.com. Across the top, I'm going to come over here to the shop icon and then come down here to the design store. Can everybody see me? Nod your head. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
So we're on the design store, and I'm going to scroll down, and I wanted to show you the little link right down here. There is now a QMX-compatible design. As Marie and Jerry test the designs, they are specifically going to put the ones that really sew out well for QMX right here in QMX. Right above here, all the designs that we use in Quilter's Playground will be in this Quilter's Playground. So if you see a design that we have been quilting with and you like it, you can go here and find it, okay? Now, let's start at the top and talk designs. These are a couple of designs that are brand new to the design store. So all the new designs will be on the first few pages. So let's talk about, now, a corner design, not a good design for QMX, because it does blocks and a simple pantograph. And by simple pantograph, it just needs to have fewer lines, and it needs to be a continuous line as you're quilting. So this little modern border would work. It's a border to border design or a B2B. So you could use that all the way across and all the way down. This is another one that probably would work, and it's called Modern Tulips, but it's a little more nested, but that's okay. As you're quilting across, if you measure correctly, this would look good and it'll look a little more staggered and offset. All right, let's look down below. These are gorgeous new designs that we just added with the Statue of Liberty. I would say these are probably not QMX compatible because they're very busy. And with QMX, you're limited to the size of a design that you can quilt out because we're using domestic machines. They do not have longer throats. So I probably wouldn't pick any of these, even the cute little Statue of Liberty by yourself. because I'm going to have to quilt it in a smaller size and it just will look a little more murky and my points and my stitching won't look as nice. So size really does matter as you're quilting. Now let's talk about these little chickens because they're kind of cute too. All right. If it's a single chicken and I think that it could quilt out at 2.5 to 3 or 4 inches, I would probably pick one of these, but only one if it was a continuous line design all the way across. This one right here, a little busy and a lot more lines in there. So be careful as you're picking and choosing and choose wisely. Keep in mind, we want to keep it simple. It's simple, simple, simple. And fewer lines, the better. All right, so I'm going to go down just one more page and show you a couple others. Now, I wouldn't use something like this because you'll have a blank spot going all the way across. So I actually wouldn't consider this one at all. And then, okay, so this is the design I chose to quilt out. Now, having stepped back and already quilted it, I really liked because I thought it would give me some nice texture on the back, but it's straight across. And I have to match up these points right here, going across and making sure they're right. I probably would have chosen this one, this E to E rather than this one. So just be careful. It's a little more staggered looking and I didn't have to match up the points on this one because it's already staggered and a little different. So now I'm going to jump in and let's go back to our back to our presentation, and I'm going to jump into my video. Hi everybody, welcome to QMX Foundations for Domestic Machines. We're going to quilt a quilted bag today using our QMX. And I just wanted to introduce the setup, how I set it up. Okay, I used a scrap piece of batting and backing. And so because it wasn't really long enough to accommodate some of the space, I needed to attach my cloth leaders. So I will be using cloth leaders. And the reason is I'm pretty close to the edge here. And by pinning a cloth leader, it gives you that excess that you need without having to sew another piece across or making it wider and wasting more fabric. Because this is a scrap, I'm going to use it up. Now you'll notice that my sides are wider, but my top and my bottom, I will need my cloth leaders, okay? So that's why I'm going to use them. Now when I get down to the bottom, I will attach the bottom leader to it, and that's how I'm going to do it. For right now, I just don't need that excess hanging down and walking over it. So I'm just going to leave it off till I get closer to the bottom. Then I will pin my bottom leader on. Now you'll notice I'm using my bungees. Now my bungees are really important. I don't want it flapping around on the sides, so my bungees will help stabilize. There are 4 to a package when you order the bungees, and you don't want it to be in the way. So because I have more on the sides, I can use the bungees without them hitting the machine as it's quilting across. Now, if I didn't have enough excess, what I would do is add the side leaders to it that come in the package and then pin that to the sides, each side, and clamp my bungees to that. That way, I can still use the bungees to stabilize. Okay, so my automation was off. I went and honed it. And now it's asking me which style of designs I'm going to use. I'm going to be picking a simple panto, okay? I'm not doing blocks right now. Now, this will take me into where my design library, I can pull in the designs that I previously was shopping for into my design library. Now, for this, you have to be connected to the internet. Then to quilt, if you already have the design in your little library, you don't have to be connected to the internet. You just have to be connected to your automation, okay? So I'm going into my design library because I was shopping. And I want to tap on my refresh. And it will tell me when it's pulled in all my little designs. You guys, I waited for a while, but because I was on the internet a lot, it had already pulled them in. So let's go down and see. if it's pulling them in. And you'll notice that I might automatically do it. There's a bunch of new designs in there. Yeah, so I pulled in a bunch. Now, let's talk about the design that I chose. So there's my little lovebirds, there's my hearts, there's the monsters. The snail would be really cute as a design to pick. This one would be nice, but I decided to choose this Starry Night. I thought it'd give it really good texture, and it's kind of, that's what I'm looking for, is texture. Now the snails kind of go along with the theme, a dragonfly, so you pick and choose what you want. Now this retro mod, it's a little busy, and so I'm not going to use it, but it's a cool design. I'm tapping on Starry Night, and I'm going to confirm my selection. Okay, there's my Starry Night. Now I can set my start and my stop. Now I want you to notice, I'm going to tap on next, and then I'll see my crosshairs. If you see your crosshairs, you know you're connected and they're moving. Okay, let's talk about our start and stop point and where we want it to quilt and sew. Now I kind of want it off the edges, but I really want it to be on the top and on the bottom. And like Jerry on our last one, I may turn it and pin and do the same thing. So it's equal going from top to the middle and then top to the middle, because I want this to look nice and even. So think about your design and what you want it to look like. You just maybe don't want it to sew up the edges. All right, so let's place it and use your ruler, okay, right here. This is going to help you decide how tall you want your design. So it's at 2.5 right now. So if I look at my ruler, here's my 2.5. It would be that big as it's stitching across. And I may want that. So I'd line it up right here and line it up right there on the corner. And then tap on. I might want it, well, let's go to next, okay? And then start, and then go all the way across. And let's say I want it to end there, but I don't know if it's going to give me enough designs to actually end there. So if I tap on end, it may, see where my crosshairs are? I'm missing a section, okay? So I'm going to pull it out and not really worry about if it's sewing off the edges, just to add another section, because I want it to end right here, okay? To have enough to sew off the edge. So I'm going to tap on end, and see how it added 2 more to it? Okay, now I can use my crosshairs to go back to this point and see, okay, it just barely has enough. So use your crosshairs to let you identify where it's going to sew and how far down. So now, using the crosshairs as well, I can go across the top and see. It might sew barely off, but you know what? I'm going to be doing a little bit of sewing right here. That's okay. Now let's pull it down. Okay, so it's right here towards the bottom, and it's going to hit that bottom edge. So that's roughly the design. I might want it a little bigger, okay? And I might go back and then reset my start and stop. So let's go back and size it just slightly bigger. Let's go 3 inches, okay? And by doing 3 inches, and because it's starting and stopping here, let's say, let's go next. And then go across and place it. Right? Remember, I'm going to go off the edge. Tap on end. Okay, now let's use my crosshairs and see where it's going to be. I know it's the middle is right here. And let's go up to the top and see. That looks pretty good. I think I like 3 inches. However, when I come right here, it's slightly short. So do I want to pull it out a little bit more? And I hit the sides, so that's all. At 3 inches, maybe I want to go down to 2.75. You guys decide what you want, okay? So you can use those crosshairs and design. All right, we're going to get quilting now. And I'm going to go back and then reset it at 2.75 and then replace it again. That way I can hopefully get start and then stop. And then all the way to the end. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and notice I have one extra, which is fine. I'm going to come up. Yeah, it's going to clear it just nicely. All right, so 2.75 is my number. I'm going to tap on next. And we're going to move to the start point, pull up our threads, and start quilting. All right, I'm finished with my first row. And the only reason I let it quilt this one out is so that I could measure and make my marks for my next section now. All right, you'll notice that I tapped on next. It's going to ask me if I want to pick a new design or place this one again. I'm going to tap on place again. And now it's going to let me place the same size on the next row down. Let's measure and make our marks. Now, because I am right here on the edge, make sure that you measure 2.5 down. So turn your ruler so that you have from the top to the bottom. So we'll go 2.75. I'll make my mark there. Well, I need to measure in the middle, but 2.75 is a rough estimate. And then we'll measure over here, 2.75. Make your marks, place your design, okay? That is your start, and that's going to give us enough space to quilt out the next row. So I'm going to make my marks first before I move. Oh, using this, because we have these to measure down, I could actually move it and then measure, but I'm going to measure first. You have to watch me move it. Sorry. That's where I was checking to make sure I had enough showing that I didn't have to readjust, and I slid it over to the side because I wanted enough on the other side. I'm tacking down the sides, really important, especially if you're sewing up the edges. Make sure. Mark, okay, so I measured down to 2.75 inches. I'm going to tap on my start and then my end, and then we'll go and double check right here and make sure. See, it's up in my area. So I'm going to make sure that I have enough. I'm going to use my crosshairs, and I'm going to travel along right here, and make sure that as I'm going across, it's not going to overlap. It's barely going to touch. Let's see right down here. I might hit it just slightly. So my measurements, I'm using my crosshairs to make sure that I can travel across. So I may have come up just slightly right here. And I want to go back across right along the edge using my needle. And now if I have a hard time seeing, because my needle is what I'm looking at, I'm going to rotate my hand wheel. So my needle is now closer so I can get right there to the edge. So by rotating my needle closer, it's closer to the lines, and I can look at my screen and see I might have to adjust it down slightly because I can see that it's going to overlap and I don't want it to. Yeah, pay attention, you guys, because this is really important. And I love the crosshairs. And I need that little extra as I'm pulling it down. So I'm going to just barely move my placement and tap on my end, just barely, because I just want to pull it down just slightly and out. There I added my 2 extra, and I'm going to move across and just barely pull it down. And that way, that 2.75 is going to help me as I'm moving across. Now, as I go across, I can check and see. This is what I want you guys to recognize and notice, okay? That 2.75, that just gives me enough that's going to sew out a little better. And no, I didn't get it on straight, so it's up a little taller. That's okay, okay? But I did get my extras. We're going to go for it and sew it out. Okay, I'll see you on the up. All right, I'm going to talk about the space, okay? So this row I just quilted, and actually, you guys, I did okay. This was probably not the best design to choose because I really do need to pay attention to the points and line them up all the way down. But who doesn't like a little bit of a challenge? So I was off right here slightly. I was able to just kind of tweak it here, and here's right on, and it starts getting slightly off again. By the time I get to here, I'm barely off. So I'm going to try to be more careful and a little more cognizant of it. Now, I want you to look on my screen here and notice that that row I just quilted is right here. It looks like I have enough space to do one more row before I shift and roll it. So that's what I'm going to try to do, okay? And because I measured just slightly down from this point here to 2.75, I am going to actually go just 1/8 of an inch more and see if that helps, okay? So rather than the pin, I thought this might be better, okay? So there's my mark, okay? And if I have to pull it out, I will. Now we're going to use that mark, and I'm going to come down here and go from right here to right here, and I'm going to make it right there, okay? Those are my 2 marks. Let's go and see how good we are. Now I'm going to turn my hand wheel again, because that's going to help me identify, after I place it, where I'm at to line it up, okay? And my points that I now need to pay attention to are right here, right here, right here, and right here. Okay, so I want to pay attention to the bottom, but I also want to make sure that it's matching up on these little points. These are my little points that I'm going to identify. So I'm going to tap on next. It's going to ask me if I want to place again. I'm going to say yes. And now we're going to go place it and see where my crosshairs are. So I'm going to tap on start and then go over to my end. And I want those little extras, so I'm going to go across. And okay, that's enough. Now I'm going to go and watch. See that point, my crosshairs? It's right there on that point. Then I'm going to pay attention to this point here. It's slightly off, but I may be slightly off too. and then go along and just pay attention to those points, making sure that I'm matching up my points. Guys, this is really cool. And look how easy it is to use your crosshairs to match up your points. Okay, go and have fun, you guys. I'm going to wrap this up, finish quilting this, and I hope that you will use QMX to decorate, explore other options, fill in texture, and quilt and design. You guys, the sky's the limit and how you use this and what you use. Send us what you're doing. We want to see it. So let us enjoy what you're doing by sending it in to gracefriend.com and let me know. And it's Karla with a K, Karla at gracefriend.com. I want to see what you're doing. Bye. All right, so let's go to the next. Let me show you what the design looked like because it gets a little busy. So on this design, it was up and down, and these are the points that I was kind of struggling with, but actually it matched up pretty good, okay? And down here, you'll notice I'm slightly off on this point right here, just slightly. All right, this one I was able to match up pretty good, and this one. Now, yeah, just have fun with this, you guys, because I learned something new and learned how to match up my points and how to use the crosshairs even that much better. It was a lot of fun. I have to say, I dig a challenge that helps me grow as a quilter, and this one really did. So, and now look at this next row down. I did quilt it out. I kind of ended up pretty good. So make sure. Now I'm going to ask you some questions, so get ready for the chat. Let's see if you were paying attention. What did Karla use to help her place, align, and position each row with QMX-FD? The ruler, her fingers, or the crosshairs? You can write whichever one you think. I'll give you just a minute, not very long. All right, it was the crosshairs, you guys. Okay, what are the best style of designs to use when quilting a simple pan load? Blocks or motifs, a B to B, border to border, E to E, edge to edge. Now this is kind of a catch-22. A border to border and an E to E, both of them will work. Just make them more simple, okay? And then we'll go to the next page. Okay, what was used to help with the side tension? Holding it with one hand, pins, or bungee clamps? If you said bungee clamps, you were right. Then last question. Do you have to be connected to the internet to use to quilt using QMX-FD? You don't have to be connected to the internet, but you do have to be connected to the motor plate, okay?
And as always, like Karla said, we have lots and lots and lots of places to help you guys keep learning after these videos. We post these videos on YouTube for you. So tomorrow, this very video from today will be going up on YouTube for you guys to be able to rewatch. I highly encourage you guys to join our Facebook group if you haven't yet. We're able to post all of our PDFs so you guys can print out reminders, instructions, and all those kinds of things on there. And of course, our own website where you can sign up for in-person classes, come party with us like Janice did this week, do all the fun classes. So it's just a really great time. We love having you guys be a part of our community and our